Okay, so my name's Hannah, and today the topic I'm talking about is same-sex adoption. Recently, a ruling in Florida overturned the ban on same-sex adoption. This case has brought up concerns about the legality of adoption by homosexual couples throughout the U.S. Many states do not have specific laws or court decisions on gay adoption or foster parenting. Some states require a couple to be married for a year or more, which creates problems for gay couples who are not able to marry by law. Furthermore, many states allow single gay or lesbian adoption, but do not have clear laws permitting joint gay adoption or second parent adoption. The law is fuzzy and often complicates the already long and taxing process of adoption for gay and lesbian couples. My major claim is that same-sex couples are qualified to adopt children. My supporting claims are same-sex couples are equally qualified to parent as heterosexual couples are. Adoptees are not affected negatively by having gay parents, and same-sex couples can provide housing and support for foster children. So for my first supporting claim, same-sex couples are equally qualified to parent as heterosexual couples are. Regardless of sexual orientation, new parents have similar experiences. A study presented in the Journal of Family Psychology suggests that sexual orientation does not play a large part in parenting. Goldberg and Smith say, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, and route to parenthood, new parents experience similar positive changes in perceived skills. Also, lesbian women often experience more opportunity to engage in childcare. In a study conducted to determine relationship quality in parents who adopt, Goldberg, Kashi, and Smith claim women often emphasize mutuality and communication in their relationships, and thus lesbian relationships may benefit from a double dose of relationship-enhancing influences. Lastly, gay and lesbian couples grow to become effective parents just as heterosexual couples do. In the same study mentioned before, the results yielded parental confidence in both homosexual and heterosexual couples. Goldberg and Smith explained that it is notable that both lesbians and gay men became increasingly confident about their parenting skill over time, which can be viewed as a sign of resilience given their exposure to societal stigmas that question their right to parent. The results yielded from the study show that although gay and lesbian couples are often faced with discrimination, they are still able to parent at the standard of heterosexual couples. So my second supporting claim is that adoptees are not affected negatively by having gay parents. According to CNN, several organizations, the National Adoption Center, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics also say that having gay and lesbian parents does not negatively affect children. Discrimination against gay and lesbians have led to an untrue notion that homosexual parents will raise promiscuous children. So in that Florida court case, opposition in the case claimed that homosexual parents support adolescent sexual activity and experimentation. However, according to the same ruling, it says, reports and studies find that there are no differences in parenting of homosexuals or the adjustment of their children. And furthermore, there was a psychologist who was an expert testimony in the case, said that research showed no difference between children of gay parents and heterosexual parents with respect to age at which they initiated sexual activity. Also, the adoption agencies must screen potential parents before fostering or adoption takes place. So any person or people applying to adopt a child has to live up to the standards of the adoption agencies regardless of their sexual orientation. Each state has adoption standards that all the agencies have to abide by that normally have to do with like age, health care, marital status, stuff like that. According to laws.adoption.com, in general, any single adult or husband and wife jointly can be eligible to adopt. However, according to CNN, although 60% of all adoption agencies accept applications from gays and lesbians, they are often confronted with prejudice during the process. And the last thing, mental health is not determined by sexual orientation, but rather by demographics. According to Dr. Cochran, who was another witness in the Florida case, he said that the research shows that sexual orientation alone is not a proxy for psychiatric disorders, mental health conditions, substance abuse, or smoking. Members of every demographic group suffers from these conditions at rates not significantly higher than for homosexuals. And my third supporting claim is that same-sex couples can provide housing and support for foster children. There are thousands of children in need of loving families and thousands of same-sex couples ready to adopt. According to CNN, in 2007, more than 14,100 foster children were living with one or more a gay or lesbian foster parent. It is in the best interest of the child to be adopted and cared for. Adam Pertman, who's the executive director for Evan B. Donaldson Adoption Institute, says his organization is not particularly involved in gay and lesbian issues. They support gay and lesbian parenting because it serves the child's interest. So in conclusion, I am claiming that same-sex couples should be or are qualified to adopt children because same-sex couples are equally qualified to parent as heterosexual couples are. Adoptees are not affected negatively by having gay parents, and same-sex couples can provide housing and support for children.
Okay, we got good labeling of the proposition. Phrasing is fine. Secondary issues are all laid out for us. Good signposting during the content of the speech. The background information on the contradictions between the laws and policies, I think that could be developed a little bit more in showing a justification for why we're talking about this, but I think the Florida case also gives you some of that. On the first point, the only thing that I think is a little bit problematic is that all of your evidence is testimony evidence and it all comes from the same people, and I think a little bit more diversity would be helpful there. The second point, though, there was a huge diversity of information that you're using on that subject coming from a variety of sources. I think maybe you could use a little bit more statistical information, and for example, some of the conclusions of the research probably show the insignificant differences on the statistics that are being compared, and we don't get any of those. There were a couple of points on that where you just are giving us a secondary source based on what was said during the testimony in the Florida trial, so we aren't really getting first-hand information on that. It's been passed down a little bit, so that's not particularly thrilling, but I thought that you did a good job citing it as best you could in the circumstance. The third point is the only point that I thought was a little bit underdeveloped. It's the one that has a little bit of statistical information on it, and it could probably use a little bit more attention. I thought you spoke quite clearly. Your eye contact's sometimes limited. That's mostly because you have so much data that you're citing. I didn't think that it was an issue where you were having trouble connecting with the audience. It's just that you had a lot of quotes and a lot of information that you had to present. All right, thank you.